Thank you for watching In Any Arena. If you like our content, please like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. All right, let's get into it. Yo, we're back at it. It's your guys in Any Arena. Before we even get into today, as Dub loves to say, and now I've adopted it, we need y'all to give us that CLS treatment. And I'm not talking bins. We need you to comment, like, and
And
subscribe.
subscribe.
Continue seeing great content from Dub and I. So, it's been a big thing, I would say, over the last 24 hours. This whole Brett Favre welfare scandal. So we're gonna go ahead and watch this clip from Uncle Shay Shay, and then we're gonna break it down and get into it and see what we think about everything, man.
Talk
For
to people that was in the room when Brett Favre went into the Hall of Fame, and nobody mentioned about text messages that he sent to that jet masseuse. Nobody mentioned anything about the addiction that he suffered from. But yet T.O., they brought up everything. Can you imagine if T.O. would have had an incidents like Brett Favre off the field? T.O. still to this day right now would not be in the Hall of Fame. Yet they walked right past it like Brett Favre did nothing.
That is true. I give you that.
The problem that I have with this situation, you got to be a sorry mofo to steal from the lowest. Mississippi is the poorest state in our country.
It is.
Its citizens. So if they're the poorest state, Brett Favre is taken from the underserved. You made $100+ million in the NFL. This is what we know. Scared with.
all right.
Yo, that was wild. So, Dub, I don't know if you want to give us some more detail and just kind of break down exactly what's going on with the situation and
Yeah.
what the text messages said.
Yeah, I can brief you on exactly what happened. So what happened was the state of Mississippi was audited, and it was found that $77 million that's supposed to have been allocated to the welfare program were misallocated by, pretty high up officials within the state of Mississippi. And the former governor, Bill Bryant, was helping facilitate some of those activities. And so when we look at the current state of Mississippi, the poorest state in the union that is currently right now battling contaminated water in Jackson, Mississippi, we have people that are worth millions and millions of dollars screwing over those community members in Mississippi. I am extremely outraged that we are even talking about this today. And then Brett Favre, being someone that's from Mississippi, agreed to take $1.1 million to help support the funding of University of Southern Miss volleyball team stadium. That is extremely egregious. And when you think about Brett Favre, this is not his first time. Like Shannon Sharp mentioned, this is not his first time having extremely questionable character actions that he has performed. Back to the text messages with the Jets reporter. I mean, there's just a myriad of things that Brett Favre has done. I'm gonna say this, and I'm gonna say this right now. Look at Michael Vick. Michael Vick, granted, I have a pet. JT has a pet. I have a Yorkie. JT has a miniature bulldog.
Yep.
And so we are very strong advocates of having pets. I condemn anyone that participates in dogfighting. But Michael Vick was in prison for how long? 5 years, 4 or 5 years? I mean, face plastered everywhere. But all of a sudden, Brett Favre steals a
I think he did
1.1,
I think he
two,
did 2 years.
two,
Yeah.
2 year. He still did time.
Yeah.
So we just gonna let
Crazy.
Brett Favre. We just gonna let Brett Favre just do whatever. $1.1 million, even though
Yeah.
he returned the money back. I don't give a damn. I don't
Yeah.
give a damn if he took 50 cents. That money is not his money, and it's supposed to go to citizens that truly need those funds. And so, to me, it's just upsetting to see those type of things occur. And let me look at my phone, and I'll just give you all just a brief overview of what the text message exchange was. Brett Favre was asking a representative from the Phil Bryant camp, "Hey, is there any way that the media can track where these funds are coming from?" Meaning he already know that what he's doing is wrong. From a character perspective, this is wrong. And then the representative texts back and said, "No, we've never had that information publicized." So I understand you being uneasy about that, knowing that this is already a bad thing. but I'm gonna run it by somebody and then I'll get back to you. He said, okay, thanks. Just got off the phone with Phil Bryant, the former governor of Mississippi, and he's on board with what we have proposed. And then Brett Favre said, awesome. I needed to hear that for sure. This man is on Wrangler commercials. He's on the Copper Fit commercials, throwing the ball to Jerry Rice, and he's still being greedy. He's still being greedy. For
Yeah,
me, they need to take his coat. He need to be kicked out of the Hall of Fame. The
yeah,
Hall of Fame is for people that has extraordinary play on the football field, but also people of high character and integrity. So for him to do these type of things, I'm floored. If this I don't play the race thing. I do not play the race thing in any situation. But if Brett Favre was black, his ass would be. I, I, go ahead, JT.
yeah. So I think I have a lot of different thoughts on it. Definitely some of the sentiments you shared around if this was not Brett Favre that we were talking about, and it was Dante Culpepper or Donovan McNabb or Michael Vick,
Yeah.
the situation would be totally different. It would be blown up in the media in a different manner, and they would be treated differently because of it. On one hand, on the other hand, I think this is also another great example of why we need to quit putting athletes on pedestals in terms of
Mm,
who they are as individuals. Being an athlete and being great at sport, whatever that given sport is, does not entail you having high moral character.
yep.
And we've seen that with athletes like Adrian Peterson. We've seen that with other guys that have been in, whether it's Ben Roethlisberger and the case that he had. We've seen that with guys. It doesn't. They don't go hand in hand. And for some reason, across the United States, athletes who make it to the professional level, because there's so many people that drop off at different levels. You got everybody plays little league. Then you got a few guys that can make it, a few less guys that can make it in middle school, a few less guys that can actually play in high school. Only a few thousand people make it to the college level, and then you got in the hundreds, depending on the sport, when it comes to like the NBA, or in the thousands that make it into the farm system and major leagues for baseball, and in the thousands that make it into the NFL. But being good at sport doesn't necessarily mean you have high moral ground or high moral character. And we've got to stop putting athletes on pedestals because they're good at a child's game. On the other hand, I look at it, and from the text messages, for me, it says that Brett Favre did have some reluctance about this. So again, what the text messages you read to me came off to me like he's like, hey, so I haven't seen all of the text messages. I got to go off of what's public and what's out there. But just from my perspective, it sounds like, pretty normal that he's like, well, this representative is telling him like, hey, we're going to send you this money. And he's like, well, I don't know if it's a good idea. And maybe before that, he said, yeah, I don't know if I can take money from this, bucket. And the guy's like, oh, it's cool. We do this all the time because we know that these things happen all the time behind the scenes. And Favre says, okay, well, you do it all the time. Is there any way it can be tracked back in the public? I think this would be a PR nightmare. And the guy's like, no, there's no way. He said, all right, I'll do it. And then when he decided he wasn't going to do the speeches, which might, I don't know, it might speak to his moral ground. He's like, man, I don't know about doing these speeches for this money that came out of this welfare bucket. I'm not doing it. That he didn't do the actual speeches that they wanted him to do or whatever it was, and he returned the money. Now, I think the issue at hand is that the auditor for the state is saying that they told him he had to pay the money back with interest. Why he would have to pay it back with interest, I don't quite understand or know the legality or the rationale behind that. But he did pay the money back. So I think for me, it's a situation. Can he be accused of a crime? Probably not. These types of things are happening every day. The fact that people don't have clean water in Jackson, the fact that people didn't have clean water for years in Flint, Michigan, and we're giving billions of dollars in aid to other countries. says a lot about who we are and what's important to us in general. So I think things like this are happening every day. Should he be charged for a
100%.
crime? Probably not. It's probably not any type of
I
crime that
think
he
so.
actually committed. But I think you have to look at the people in power, the governor, the representatives that support the governor, and I think those are the individuals that are needing to be held accountable. I think you remove Favre and his name stature from the situation. And again, we know that contracts. We saw it with the mayor of Charlotte a few years ago. We've seen it with the mayor of Detroit. We've seen that there are dollars that are allotted for different causes or for different issues from state to state, and somehow this money never gets to where it's supposed to be. So I think we have to, this is a perfect example of us examining, who are we putting in positions of power when we're voting or when we're, folks are campaigning as elected officials, and ensuring that those people have high moral character. Those are the people we need to be worried about. And
Mhm.
people a lot of times are focused on who's going to be the president. They're not so focused on their local officials or their state officials. And that's where we need to start examining people's moral ground and their character and really ensuring. But I think it's an unfortunate situation that this could even happen. $71 million is a great bit of money. Um, I don't know what that would have done specifically for a water crisis that's going on in Jackson. Maybe that 71 was enough. Maybe it's a drop in the bucket, but either way, it would have did something. And again, I think it's just a really unfortunate situation
I agree. Everything that you said, I agree. I have nothing else to add.
for sure. Cool. So, we just broke down the whole Brett Favre situation. Again, it sucks that this is happening, but our feedback is just, stop putting athletes on this high moral pedestal. And they're not superheroes. A lot of these guys are human. They put their pants on the same way we do, one leg at a time. So, this should be a lesson going forward for young people and old people alike. But again, if you like what we're discussing here with in the arena, comment, like, subscribe. We'll be back with more.